always give my phone.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
Ryan,
And
you're just a part of the King's Court.
Happy Thursday to everybody out there. One half of the NBA Finals is set. It is silly that we're talking about a possible Pacers Thunder series not beginning until a week from today, assuming the Pacers win tonight, which is going to be a decent assumption if Cat does not play. If you did not know, Karl Anthony Towns, I've been reading up online as we get closer and closer to game time. I've seen very questionable from some reliable sources close to that. Not a lot of information on the injury. Some speculating that it's a bone bruise or some type of contusion. Picked up 5 fouls in the other game pretty early. So we will see. Knicks fans, how you feeling about tonight? Is it going to go 7? I put that out on my poll because I think actually if the Knicks win tonight, it could go 7. In fact, I kind of think it does go 7. So let me know what you think about that. DeMar DeRozan has spoken out on a podcast. Really, the audio doesn't know justice whatsoever. You got to go watch the video. We'll listen to it here. But to watch his face talk about this past season in Sacramento, incredible stuff. A facial expression, body language, it tells you more than any words can. So we'll get into that and look at some numbers. The Thunder, man, they are really, really special. It's all that you can say about them. Even their bench, like we're going to go down their roster here in a little bit. It's insane how well they're built for the future. And when they pulled their starters out with about 6.5 minutes left, well, it was about 5 minutes left, I should say. The third unit, Ballin, Isaiah Joe, all these other guys. So we'll talk a lot of basketball today. We can talk whatever you want to talk. In fact, there is a new trend going on within the King's Court. And all of you have started making spreadsheets. You have started graphing statistics. You're doing your own analytics. We got our second submission, and I guarantee you it will blow your mind who sent that one in. So let's get to it on a Thursday. Welcome into the King's Court. Court in.
Late nights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now. Kings in our blood, we ride strong.
Happy Thursday. The question is, will Knicks fans be doing this
New York Knicks
tonight?
New York City! Bing bong! Tell me a little something, KD. Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks?
Still talking about KD. That gets me every single time. But interesting game tonight. You got the celebrities going at it. What's going on? Patrick, let me in on this, man. Got Pat McAfee cracking back, and now somebody else cracked back at him. Apparently, the New York Post had a picture of the Knicks, but also Timothy Chalamet and Ben Stiller with the team. So New York is just a different animal altogether. You think Sacramento's a little bit wacky? Yeah, New York, different story. So what about Minnesota last night? 9 points in the first quarter. They just could get nothing going Nothing at all. Ant making some promises. He is going to outwork everybody else in this offseason.
Yeah, I'm gonna work my butt off this summer. Nobody's gonna work harder than me this summer. I'll tell you that much. So, yeah, I'll try to make it happen again for Mike.
I'm not sure if anybody watched the show on Netflix that Domas was a part of. I don't remember the name. I know the football version is quarterback and then receiver, but Anthony Edwards was kind of a different cat in that Netflix documentary. I'm not sure, like, if you noticed, but a lot of times if he was not playing basketball and him and his significant other, they were expecting their first child, but if he wasn't playing basketball, he's kind of in a corner by himself. I think they showed Thanksgiving and he's just in a dark room playing video games. He's young. He is young. He's got the pressure of a franchise on him. But I just found that as a really interesting kind of glimpse into him. And look, all these guys are creatures of habit. That's what every basketball player, anybody that covers basketball, you are a creature of habit, because then you're following the players' habits because you're getting access to the players. But let me know if you watched that. I think it was The Starting Five. That's the name of it. Let me know if you check that out. I just thought he was a little bit different in that one. But some other things coming up. We finally knew. I told you the other day, I said it's going to get revealed who was the person that did not vote LeBron James as first, second, or third team All-NBA. Well, it did get exposed. It's an Oklahoma City Thunder television analyst. In fact, I found a story. His name's Steve McGahee. Say that 5 times fast. I found a story where he chronicled the... How about that? When a basketball contact calls, that's my ringtone. So there goes my copyright violation for the day. And that means I did not follow my superstitions. I have superstitions. Nothing in the pockets. I don't eat before I do shows. Got some sparkling water right here. Phone needs to be on silent. Didn't follow him today. But anyway, Steve McGahee. He didn't vote LeBron. So, of course, I told you. I showed you the spreadsheet of all the different votes. And he got identified. He was on This Morning with Frank Isola and Brian Scalabrine with The Starting Five. That was an interesting interview. I can't play it because it is serious and they're pretty serious about their copyright. But very, very funny that days after the All-NBA voting came out, he was circled and he's doing national interviews. So how's everybody doing today? I'm going to go straight to the chat, see what you're up to, because we've got plenty of content. We're going to listen to Demar DeRozan on that podcast, just the portion where he's talking about this past season in Sacktown. There is some foul language throughout it. I think that part's going to be clean. If it's not, forgive me. I'll make sure that I'm like dumping what I can. We do have a 7-second delay. Dennis, what's up, dude? How are you? Pacers win. Rhino, how you doing, good sir? Taking my wife to Bennett's again tonight. Yeah, there you go, Chris. What's Thursday night? You only got happy hour tonight. All right, which one are you going to, Chris? Which one are you? Roseville. All right, what time's your reservation, Chris? Do you have a rezo? Do I need to get you the owner's table? You just let me know. Love that. Tristan, doesn't Ant have 4 kids with 4 different women in the last 2 years? He's going to have his hands full. Oh, he's on the Anthony Cromartie plan, or Antonio Cromartie plan. Who are some of the other famous athletes that just have tons and tons and tons of kids? Cromartie had a TV show about it. I didn't know that he had 4 already. Mason Jones doesn't go to Rhino's voicemail. No, he does not. I would stop the show if that was Mace. So what's up, Patrick? How you doing today? Good to see you in the house. Grant back tonight at 8 o'clock. So same setup. If it's a good game, he'll be on right after the game. If it is, a blowout, then he'll be on right at 8. Make sure you join him. Some good phone calls last night. Still a lot of talk about Hallie and the Kings. We had a good show yesterday, I thought, about the Kings kind of moving forward. And there is an Oklahoma City contract that I really like. And I know OK City is not on the Vegas board, as we showed yesterday, as a landing spot for DeMar DeRozan. But if they were to lose the finals, they're going to look to retool in some way. And it's going to be because they double SGA and nobody else can get stuff going. Because SGA is that straw that stirs the drink. He's the one that gets the open shots. Jalen Williams has been excellent as well. But I think, and the money lines up perfectly, as we'll see here in a little bit. What about a DeMar DeRozan? And see if you can put it in the chat. You'll probably guess who I'm going to say trade. So top story today, obviously the Knicks and the Pacers. The Knicks, it's all on the line tonight for Knicks fan. I think it's so ridiculous that some Knicks fans are calling this season a failure. They're looking at this like it's the end of days if your team gets knocked out by the Pacers. I'm sorry. How long has it been since you have been this relevant for 2 years in a row? Not just that, you've been on a natural progression from last year to this year. You have Jalen Brunson, who is like the son of New York. The guy's got a key to the city, basically. He'll never buy another drink. He'll never buy another appetizer. He took less money. That helped you get this roster that you have now, and your team was built to beat one team, the Boston Celtics. You did it. So if you're a New York fan and you get bounced out tonight, this is not the end of days. Now, I get this is a crazy NBA, and I would say you have some very good pieces to play with, because teams are not going, as Sham said, to stand pat. They're going to be looking to get better and better. So your window is not closed whatsoever. But as I said at the top of the show, if Karl Anthony Towns does not play tonight, that's going to be a massive blow. And Patrick, I would ask you, because you're plugged into the local media there, and there's this sub-segment of the local media in New York that's like fire Tibbs, and it's all pushed by Stephen A. Smith. Like, Stephen A. Smith has been on Tibbs all year about the playing time for the starters. And it's funny because Mark Diagno in Oklahoma City, he's the complete opposite. Guy plays 10 into the first quarter. But you've got that segment of fire Tibbs fans. You've got a segment that's all over Cat. Jalen Brunson is the kind of golden boy there. He can do no wrong. But at the end of the day, the pressure is on. Tibbs ain't going nowhere in this NBA, but he's going to have to come up with something creative tonight. They're going to have to do something different to guard Halliburton. I don't know exactly what that is, but the Knicks cannot get out to a slow start. If you do want to criticize the Knicks in one small way, you can say that they have fallen behind far too much in this series. At some point, the Knicks need to, in basketball, within the confines of basketball and the rules, punch the Pacers in the face right off the start tonight. You have to turn this game into a New York Knicks basketball game. So if you're without Cat, maybe there's some advantage there. I can tell you, I think New York misses Isaiah Hartenstein. That's for sure. But either way, this season is long from, or very far from, a failure, and you're still in it. They've got to close this up. The pressure is on you, though, New York, to kick it back to Indianapolis. As we said, the Thunder won last night, dominating fashion. They now get 7 days off. I guarantee they don't like that. I bet you those guys want 2 days off, maybe 3, and get right back into it. Because at this point of the season, everybody's banged up, but you're also really at the height of your conditioning. Like, you're past that point where you get that first blow in the first quarter, and it's like, oh man, I need to come out for a second. No, You're past that point. These guys play full quarters at times, depending on who you are. So that kind of slows you up. Not being able to simulate a game for 7 days, I can't stand that. And if you want to knock the NBA for one thing, it's that. Why is there such a long period of time in between games? And can somebody let me know when we started handing out MVP awards for the conference finals? That's new to me. There was 9 national voters. Sam Amick was one of them. I don't remember conference finals trophies. Huh. Interesting. Participation trophies? Are those next? My goodness. Got to root for OKC and rep OKC. Born and raised there, go Thunder. I do think the OKC fan base, I have maintained this. I think the OKC fan base is the closest to the Sacramento Kings fan base. I do. Just in terms of the way they bring it, it's a intimidating home court advantage. Not many teams. They really turned a corner in Game 4 in Denver. That is when they turned a corner. And I know that series went 7, but to me, if I look back on their playoff run, that is where the Thunder grew up this series. But root your tails off for them. In fact, in the last time they made the finals, when it was Durant, Harden, Westbrook, I was rooting for them too. I really was, because it reminded me of Sacktown. I liked the way the team was put together, small market, Cephalosha on their defensive guy. Gotta love that. So Stephen A. Smith knows who the Knicks coach is. Yes, he does. He's always criticizing him, man. Always. OKC has a good problem. They have 13 players under contract. It is silly, Peter. I'm so glad you brought it up. So we are going to transition to that. Plus 2 club options with a max of 15 players on the roster. They have 2 first-round picks, 2 first-round lottery picks. Think about that. 2 pick, or no, excuse me. I misspoke. San Antonio has 2 picks in the top 14. But they do have it's the Sixers pick. There you go. So, and 1 second-round pick in the draft. They have to make moves. Well, I don't think there is a ton of pressure on them to make any crazy moves if they lose. But you got to see, I just don't think I point to the Kings, and I know probably nobody else does in the NBA that runs teams, but the year the Kings stood pat, you just can't do it in today's NBA, and that was before this new CBA was put into place. So I think every team is going to look to improve wherever they can. Now, you can't get too cute with it, because you can very easily screw up chemistry. That's why I think Giannis is such, if he does move on, I think Giannis is such a good fit in San Antonio, because San Antonio hasn't developed their chemistry yet. They're still in the process of doing that. So now you get to add in another element, and you keep formulating, and you know it's going to land snake eyes at some point when you have Wemby and Giannis on the same team, if that were to happen. But with Oklahoma City, man, they have just got they've got a good group. Now, I still like the Pacers as a team better. I think they flow better. But to Peter's point, here's what they've got. I mean, SGA, he's going to get his big extension. Hartenstein, that is big money for Hartenstein. I forgot that he was making that much money. And I've got the bottom of the roster up, because look at this guy, Nikola Topic. He was a lottery pick, y'all, in this last draft. He was a highly rated point guard out of Serbia. There are high expectations for him. He had to sit out this year because he tore his ACL. It wasn't a big tear, but he's sitting out this year. So you still have him in the wings. Holmgren is kind of a mystery to me. He's played really well in this series, but I don't think you can rely on Chet to be the center. I think you need to have that Hartenstein guy around him. But the name that I'm looking at, if I'm the Kings, is there any way I could go snag Caruso? He's making right around the same amount of money as DeMar DeRozan. Because the Thunder and Jalen Williams is turning into this. He was an all-star this year. He is turned into a very, very solid player, but he's not the type of player that you're going to be double teaming. DeMar DeRozan is, and Jalen Williams is on the floor starting with SGA. What about that second option off the bench that's very similar to him? Look, I'm going to be a salesman. Give me some snake oil. Give me whatever you want, greased up hair. I will do my best to sell DeMar DeRozan to any team, but this one in particular, I think there's actually a decent fit. Speaking of DeMar, we've got some audio coming up from him in just a few minutes. If you want to participate in the show, give us a call. Would love to hear from you. You can just hit the link that I'm going to put back in the chat. Also, you can get into the chat. Get active in the chat. Get to know our community. I told you at the top that we've had some of you send us in some graphs, some charts. Remember this one from Peter? Peter did a great job on this. Really liked it. It was all the Kings transactions from this last season. Very good job by him. Now, little did I know that I would be getting one from Tristan. How about that? Tristan, who always tells me my audio isn't working, who always says it's the wrong day. Look at him putting in some basketball work. Offensive and defensive ratings by team, obviously, as him and I talked about via email, Oklahoma City stands out far and away. OKC has a lot on the books? No, not really. Not really, because SGA's number, when he gets extended, will not go against the cap. What's up, Matthew? How you doing today, buddy? It doesn't go against the cap, or it doesn't go against the luxury tax, I should say. You've got Holmgren through 26-27 on a lottery deal, a high-end lottery deal. Caruso, so that's the contract to me. Again, that's why I'm kind of like, yo, OKC, if we can't get a point guard, you could really use a DeMar DeRozan as your sixth man. The money's about the same, but look at what Caruso did for the Thunder this last year. Look what they did. $9,890,000. And then it jumps 18-1, 19-5, 29, and 22-4. I mean, would you have any problem having Caruso under contract until 28-29? Just asking. Just wondering. But how about Tristan? Coming through, man. It's a really good plot. Oklahoma City had the best net rating in the history of the NBA. And you saw last night, if you watched that first quarter, yeah, look at Tristan, man. Look at that beautiful plot, man. If you looked at that first quarter, that plot where Oklahoma City is circled is exactly what that first quarter was with their defense and their offense. Now, Minnesota turned the ball over a decent amount, but still, in a game of that magnitude, to come out and do that, come on. You're a special team. I just don't know, though, if the Pacers get by. I just think this is going to be a really, really fun finals if that were to happen. Tristan, Jerry is wrong.
Tristan, pay attention.
You did pay attention, Tristan. Jerry, you're wrong, my man. Love you, Jerry. You're wrong. In that series, though, I'm definitely rooting for the Pacers because of Jerry. Love to see Jerry and his friends get some rings. So, guess you'll sleep instead. Yeah, what did you do, Patrick? Did you fall asleep? What was the update on that? Oh, here we go. Here's the update. I was tempted to hop a train tonight to go into the city, but my wife talked me out of it. What's that train ride, Patrick? Is that like probably 20 minutes. We did New York for New Year's Eve in 2004. And I think we were a little bit lubed up. I think we had probably an adult beverage or two more than our typical ration. And we had met some ladies from England earlier in the trip, and somehow we got caught up with them again. And their hostel somehow was so on the complete different end of the city from where we were staying at. We were staying at Grand Central Station. And we took every exit. We rode the subway through the night. Well, not through the night, but we saw them all the way back. And then we're like, holy crap, where are we? Are we safe? Should we not have done that? So, anyways, I don't want to tease this too long. I want to get to this. DeMar DeRozan was on a podcast I'm not really familiar with. It's called the Run Your Race podcast. He talked about a few things, his entire career, talked about his upbringing. He talked about LeBron. He also talked about clutch shots throughout his career. And then certainly the question came up about Sacramento. Here's what DeMar had.
A lot. Yeah. A lot. What was the year like for you, and what did you learn from the year?
It was a lot of firsts from the standpoint, like you said, it was just a lot that transpired, a lot went on. From, firing coach to trade of their franchise player, to, just so much stuff that just transpired, man, that I never would imagine. You know what I mean? That was a first. So just from my experience of me just being a leader of just trying to keep everybody just, kind of locked in for the most part, I try to just be that and be in a moment of trying to figure out how to, get through whatever it is we need to get through, make whatever we need to, do work. So it was a challenge, still a lot, even to this moment, still trying to just process everything that went on, you know what I mean? Because
if you look back at the team, it's just like y'all got the guys.
Yeah,
and when you make a trade for Zach, you and Zach get back together, so y'all are kind of like seamlessly doing what y'all need to do. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was so new because even getting Zach and knowing like, all right, damn, you walking into a lot of stuff that done transpired too this year. That even in the midst of everybody that's here, we still trying to adjust and figure it out too. It made it tough at times.
Yeah.
Trying to, establish something with the new guys coming too, because we still trying to figure out and establish what
you still trying to figure it out.
Because
you're new to the team too.
Yeah. So that's what made it even more difficult at times where, we had moments and spurts where, it was great. Then you had moments and spurts where, it just was tough, rightfully so, looking back on it, because, everything changed so much, whether if it was defensive schemes, offensive schemes, rotations, then, we had to deal with injuries. Malik got hurt at the end. So it was just a lot that was going on that was tough to kind of comprehend in a moment, especially without
because you don't got time.
You don't got time.
You don't got time to really like, it's not like you can get a week off and then you can just practice and get things together.
Yeah, it was just, everything was just, tough.
Happening. Yeah.
It was just tough. So, we came out with the year that we came out that, nobody wanted, but, just us having to find what our identity was going to be, made it tough on us.
You hit 25K.
How about that? What do you take away from that? I thought there was a lot of honesty there. I thought there were a couple of interesting words there. They traded their franchise player, but I would encourage you to go run down that footage and look at DeMar's face when he's talking about the season. And I'm not the guy to look in and overanalyze the tiniest of details, but somebody that's wrote a book about depression and his battle and has spoken up for mental health, one of the first athletes to really come out and talk about mental health publicly, which has led other athletes to do it. DeMar does not mince words. He's very transparent for the most part. He looks defeated. No other way to put it. He looks defeated. It sounds like he wants no part of what's going on. And when he says, like, it was crazy, he's just like, it's crazy. Like, he's still processing everything that happened this last season. And he did definitely hit some important milestones through all that. I mean, we get on DeMar DeRozan about having his foot on the toe. We get on him because the ball stops. But the bottom line is DeMar DeRozan carried the Kings through the first quarter of the season. How many huge games did he have? Kings were forced to go into that style. And for a guy that is a top 30 scorer all time in the NBA, a future Hall of Famer, hands down, probably first ballot Hall of Famer, for him to bring up identity. Some of you in the chat are always like, identity, who cares? Identity this, identity that. It's that important. If you don't have an identity, how do you start to build? What are you building towards? And that's why the conversation yesterday about Sabonis and Grant, when we went back and analyzed Grant's comments, and then I kind of recapped and rethought my initial take on Halliburton, but that's exactly what it is. It's identity. So for him to use that, it's just crazy to me. And I said it yesterday, and I'm not that guy. I am usually the guy that you signed your name to the contract. You got to live up to it. But, we heard a ton of these different podcasts coming into this last season. We heard Willie Cauley-Stein. We heard, of course, DeMarcus. He seems like he's on any podcast that will take him. But, the Kings, they didn't want to play me because they didn't want to pay me. And who else did we hear? Rudy Gay talking about how he was sold a completely different bill of goods when he re-signed his contract. He was told Mike Malone would be here. And all of a sudden, Mike Malone's gone, right? The same seems to have happened with DeMar DeRozan. I don't think it's a stretch to say he was sold a different vision. And you remember how refreshing it was when we heard DeMar's press conference? He was excited to be here in Sacktown. Super excited to be here. He was still in California, which was important to him, but he really wanted to find a team that he could have that sunset of his career, but not just a sunset, but to take that team over the top, to get him into the playoffs and possibly a championship run. And now you have just completely U-turned within a matter of less than 12 months. So I'm going to be that guy, and I'm going to say he deserves to go. I mean, you're not going to trade him the way you traded him or traded De'Aaron Fox. You've got to get back what you need in return. You need something right now, but he's that piece, and he's the right piece not only because of where he's at in his career, not only because of the money, but personally, it's the right thing to do. For everything the Kings screwed up this year, from an ownership management standpoint, that would be one good step in the right direction in many people's eyes around the NBA. Sorry, it just would. DeMar continues about his record.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not many people.
Nah,
for
bro.
you to hit 25K, how special is that for you? Just all the work you put in, and just like I said, that's a feat that a lot of people will never get to.
Yeah, bro. It's a crazy thing. Even in the moments of when I pass guys, I really don't take it for granted. Like I'm still amazed and humbled by it because, I never told myself like, man, I'm trying to be top 25 in scoring. I'm trying to just like, I really just played the game for the love of the game, man, and just want to be respected by my peers and teach anybody before me everything that I learned. So when things like that happen, it becomes, it becomes a disbelief at times because, like these guys and people that I watched and look up to way before me that I never would imagine, I'd be scoring 25,000 points. It's
Crazy,
it's crazy.
That's a lot of buckets. That's a lot of buckets. I meant to ask you this before, and I just slipped on mind. We just talking, just going with the flow. Your emotions, your feelings when you saw Toronto go win a championship.
Yeah, it was a little bit of both because all those guys that was there that I played with and the staff that I grew up with during that time, they was like family to me.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I was happy for them to accomplish something we set out to try to do every single time, and it sucks that I just couldn't have been there with them to feel it. But I was happy for them. I talked to every single one of those guys after they won it while they was in the locker room. Like it was that, but for me it hurt more so because it's like you want to be there with your brothers. Damn everything else. It's like I know what it's like every single day in that gym, on the road, on that plane, on that bus, in our locker room with those guys. To our ultimate goal is to win it all. So not to be a part of that with those guys, that was.
I get that was a championship team, and he was there for a longer time, but look at how he talks about that with your brothers. Look at how candid he is about, it hurt. It hurt a lot. It's just it's a hard place to be for some of these players and the team. Our identity, working class, blue collar, I feel like we need to really have our Moneyball moment. Yeah, you have to. I mean, speaking of DeMar, what he was sold last year. I mean, we heard a lot of it. De'Aaron was part of it. He really wanted to play with DeMar DeRozan, and it was a very weird thing midway through the season. I think for some of these guys to process. Malik Monk had not talked outside of a basketball context to De'Aaron in weeks. Similar timeline for DeMar DeRozan too. All while the season's going on. You have to turn Sacramento into a destination. Oklahoma City is a destination. Oklahoma City is a destination for a little bit of a different reason. Sam Presti has built that thing beautifully. They nailed it when it came to trading for SGA. How many small markets trade for their superstar? Not very many. They did. They took a risk with Paul George. Paul George, who really is a 1A, not a superstar. You traded a 1A for a superstar, and you got him while the stock was low. You saw the potential. You developed him. You built the system around him. So there's that way of building it, and then there's the way that the Pacers, ironically, have built it. It's Tyrese Halliburton's charisma. It bleeds all over everybody. You've heard it on the national, if you watch any of the national stuff, that many players are saying, get me to Indiana. I want to go play in Indiana. So how do you turn Sacramento into a destination? I can tell you they are in a very, very difficult spot right now to be able to do that, just because you don't have the assets right now. You don't have the draft picks. You're looking to tread water here in the next couple of years. Expectations are low. And I actually respect Scott Perry for setting the expectations low. But we went from, in a 12-month period of, at this time last year, I was doing the shows with Grant, and I was talking about the De'Aaron Fox situation. And I said, this thing's coming sooner rather than later. And as we move through the season, the start of the season, and we got to that chunk in December where the wheels came off the wagon, there were times that Jerry Reynolds on this show, and don't misquote me here, don't misquote Jerry here, Jerry said this could be the biggest trade in Sacramento Kings history. And now you look back, and we don't know what those draft picks are going to turn into. Maybe Zach LaVine turns it around. But to have somebody that's been the GM of the team, been the coach of the team, well-respected, a legend around the NBA, to have him say that it could be the biggest trade in the history of the Sacramento Kings, and it end up being, it should have been the grand finale. It should have been the launching point, the corner turn for this team. It's either the launching point where you're getting what you need back, or you're taking yourself into a very well-structured and planned rebuild. And you're taking draft picks for the future, and you're going to do it the right way like Portland did. The Kings did neither. There's a lot of argument that you did better by De'Aaron Fox than you did your own franchise if you're Vivek Ranadive. So I think the offseason begins with DeMar DeRozan. That's where it begins. No air conditioning. What's going on? You don't have air conditioning, but DeMar was the only one that wanted to stay. Yeah, he did say that in his exit interview. He absolutely did. But he also said it was the craziest year. When you have Domantas Sabonis and him saying that's a big statement. They have come full circle from Harden, KD, Adams. Look, they had it's a great point, Patrick. They had a great thing going. And they had a vision. They executed. And that's why I say, Portland is not your next Oklahoma City, but Portland is now closer to Sacramento than you think. They have played this thing out pretty well. In fact, Portland really wants to bring in Chris Paul because they want him to mentor Scoot Henderson. I don't know that that's what Chris Paul is going to want to do at this point in his career. I think there's better options for Chris Paul at this point in his career. But Portland has mapped it out. They were patient with Dame Lillard. They were agreeable with Dame that they would work with him on a trade, but they were patient, man. You had a trade deadline. You got all the way till the end of the summer until you traded Dame away till Milwaukee. Peter, first round contracts are guaranteed. OKC has 5 first round picks in 2026. They need to push some of those contracts to years down the road. Solid point, my friend. Very solid point. BG hopping back in. I've been seeing posts all over about people the Kings should go all in on. Trey Mello, Ja Zion, including for a pick. Yeah, I saw somebody put up, was it Matt that put up a poll? Which one of these guys would you be willing to give up, or most willing to give up multiple first round picks for? Man, Jerry Reynolds has said Trey's name a few times, ironically, and I've kind of, I don't know if I don't like Trey. That's a lot of dribbling around. That's just. It just, I don't know. I don't know that he's the right guy. I almost put Trey Young closer to a Levine category, especially with the defensive concerns. Trey Young does not play any defense. And I think when we go back to that word identity that DeMar talks about, we talked about yesterday, identity, especially with this head coach. And even if it's not Doug Christie, after this coming season, Mike Woodson, if he ends up getting the interim job or say something did happen during the season, the defense is easier to turn over. But I think with the blue collar, like y'all have said, working class, that's where it begins. And you've got some really good elements on this team, and you've got the right coach to throw gasoline on that fire. So your best Kings teams, the best performances we've seen over this 3-year span have come, for the most part, when it's the hustle. It's those 50-50 balls. Remember when Keegan guarded, I forget who it was. It was an all-star, but he guarded him for pretty much the entire shot clock this past season, and he ran around and they didn't get a shot off. One of the loudest pops at the G1C that I remember. I like that somebody said, and speaking of these names, let's go through these really quick because I think it's interesting. It's a no for me on Trey. LaMelo, undecided. Ja is probably the most interesting name there for me. Ja's probably the most interesting name. Zion's a close second. You just don't know. Both of them have off-the-court concerns. I would rather have Zion's off-the-court concerns than Ja's. And they both have injury concerns too. The injuries with Zion scare me, but then there's a lot of minutia. There's a lot of gray area around how New Orleans has managed Zion, which is interesting. Zion says he wanted to play. They wouldn't let him play. So I don't know. That's why that's really interesting. Sabonis said, we need a point guard.
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
Let me fix that up for you, Peter.
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
And a backup point guard too. That's for sure. There you go. So we're talking Kings. We are talking tonight. You got the Eastern Conference Finals. Is it going to be Pacers and Thunder when we get together tomorrow for the Friday edition of the Kings Court? Let us know. Still looking for an update on Karl Anthony Towns. The last that I saw, he was very questionable per some reliable sources. That will be a big deal if he is not there for the Knicks. Let's go to the phones. Let's bring in McLean. What's up, McLean?
Hey, I saw the list of. I was going to write this in the chat, but it's easier to say.
Yeah, for sure.
The one thing I would have a problem with, like, I love Zion. I saw him play this year against the Kings. Man, that dude, I think he only played like 20 minutes and he had like 40 points or something. It was
crazy.
It was the game where Valanciunas' like first game in Sacramento. The thing is, I was watching him and that dude looked like he was dying. Like, just he doesn't look in shape, and that's always been his problem. That's why he's getting hurt. Like, I don't know if I trust him to get in if he's going to take his career seriously, if that makes sense. Because you're a professional, as a professional athlete, it's different than a Joe Blow who needs to lose 10 pounds. But, you know, this is his profession. I don't know if he's taking the profession seriously. And I don't know if you want to bring a guy like that in when the object is to win. So that's my, I wouldn't call him, I would much rather want Ja Morant if I had to take the two, because I think, like, look, Chris Webber had problems before we brought him in. And so I see a lot of comparisons between the two. And Ja Morant, when he's on the court, he takes things seriously, except when he does stupid stuff. But coming to Sacramento is a wake-up call, because it's almost like, and it's been for a lot of players, look at Rondo, because this is the last stop before you kind of get booted out. So if I were to bet money, I'd bet more on Ja Morant than Zion. That's just me. And have a good day.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Great call. Call back. That was excellent. The insight about being at the game and seeing him gassed. I mean, yeah, it's hard to get into NBA in-season shape when you're not allowed to play back-to-back games. That's when you build your shape. The ironic thing about Zion is he came in this season to the first game, to training camp, in the best shape of his life by many accounts. That's actually one of the things that I had a real problem with Katie this year. And I usually don't get on her too much, not like a lot of people do, but I had to get on her there. She just would not stop with the Zion out of shape stuff, which historically had been true, but that last season he came in shape. The Sacramento, how does that hit you, everybody? Think about what McLean just said. Sacramento's the last stop. That's like...
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
That's like... You're out of the NBA. You can't make it work in Sacramento. You are out of the NBA. Yeah, I get it. I mean, historically, there's been chances like that. But of those players, all of them, many of them, ended up loving the city. And that's how, actually, really, that is what started or began, restarted, whatever you want to call it, those identities and those cultures. The Weber trade. Then you get Jay Will. Then you get Vlade. Then you trade Jay Will for Mike. And all of a sudden, you're where you're at. Very interesting. Yeah, so out of those names, which way would you go? Haunted Horse chiming in. Zion, the guy is always injured. You know what's so interesting, Horse? I've heard more than a few people that cover the NBA say that the Blazers would be willing to part with Klingon. I find that really hard to believe. That was their guy. They circled him before his last season of college. And they got so lucky that he fell to him. Now, maybe if it's in like the perfect trade where you'd trade anybody on your roster, sure. But that kind of blew me away. I had a hard time believing that. Oh, Karen's hoping that the AC stays. I heard it's going to be bad. What's up, Rock? No on Trey. No on Zion. No on Ja. No on Levine. Well, you can't really do much about that last one, my friend. OKC can't keep up all those picks. Yeah, you know what? Peter brought it up as well. Not enough minutes for all those picks. Well, you know, if I had to... Okay, so if we looked at the teams remaining right now that may have interest, or reportedly, actually, you know what? Let's listen to Shams for a minute. Here was Shams the other day. He said that it's supposed to be, in his estimation, the craziest offseason in NBA history. Shams continues.
Dogs only, scout players that they know want to win and want to compete. And that's becoming a big trend line in the NBA. But Giannis Antetokounmpo is still in the process of figuring out what his future looks like. I think between now and the start of free agency, we're going to get some more answers.
D-Bot has a question for you, Sean.
Yeah, real quick before I get my question. How does he feel about Doc Rivers being the head coach and still being there? Is that, how much is that playing, according to what you know, how much is that playing to his decision to stay or leave?
I don't expect that to play a big decision into Giannis Antetokounmpo's mindset. It's going to come down to what gives me the best opportunity to win a championship. So he's going to look at the roster. He's going to look at what moves they can make, what moves they can't make. And listen, Giannis Antetokounmpo, a player like that, is always going to have respect for the coach. And Doc Rivers has been there the last year and a half, but I don't think he's making that decision just solely off of that.
Okay, got it. And for going into next year, we had some major injuries in the NBA this year. Obviously, Kyrie Irving, after that trade, he tore his knee up. And then Wemby, he had the blood clot situations. Obviously, Tatum in the playoffs. What are the outlooks for those big-time players going into next year as far as what you know right now?
So Tatum as well, Achilles tear. He's expected to miss most of next season, if not the entire next season. I think that's what Boston is prepared for. And the surgery that he got, Dr. O'Malley at HSS in New York City, same doctor that did Kevin Durant.
Gotcha.
And Kevin Durant did his surgery about 36 hours post Achilles tear. Jason Tatum did it in like just over 12 hours after the Achilles tear. So that time difference, I think the doctor there believes that the time helps and will allow him to heal better. But Kevin Durant also got 18 months off before he came back. So you're going to have to be very cautious with Jason Tatum and when he gets back. And what you're going to see from the Celtics as well is they're going to start to reshift their team. So I think they're going to be patient with him. Kyrie Irving, there's optimism around him and around the Mavericks. He could be back at some point in January or February. But again, it's an ACL tear. He suffered in March. We'll see exactly when he'll be able to be back.
Wemby.
And Wemby. He's been doing some on-court stuff. We've been seeing it on social media. So that should be a positive sign. And the Spurs, everything I hear, they fully expect him to be ready to go for the start of next season, for the start of training camp. That is amazing news for the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, that is huge news when you're dealing with a blood clot where he had one. That could have ended much different. Very lucky they caught it when they caught it, especially with how much those players travel. So Shams lays out kind of what the players, the bigger teams, the teams that are in a completely separate class than the Kings. And it's a great example, by the way, BJ, about Mitch Richmond. Same thing there. Good example. Except the Kings didn't have a ton of success, but they played a certain style. Whether the Kings won or lost, you knew you were going to see effort. You know why I know that? Because I was a kid going to those games, and I remember it. Michael, the Animal Smith, the L Train, Dwayne Coswell when he wasn't getting in trouble. Should I keep going? Because I can. Randy Brown. All those guys. So, anyways, that's the landscape of the NBA. So, with that in mind, with the remaining teams that are in the playoffs right now, and I'm going to take New York out because let's leave New York in. I will leave them in. But of the remaining teams that are in the playoffs, when it comes to the quote-unquote Giannis sweepstakes, if he takes off, I would rank it like this in terms of the right fit. Out of all four teams, probably Oklahoma City would be the best fit for Giannis. So a lot of you are saying they've got to make room. They've got too much on the books. They've stockpiled picks and good picks at that for an opportunity, a guy like that. And they probably, let's be real, do you think they hoped for, but I don't know that they ever thought SGA would turn into what SGA is. And I know I said that earlier in the show, that they bought when stock was lower, when most people just thought of SGA as a middle role guy on the Clippers. So you've gotten lucky and traded for one superstar. I think Giannis would be he would easily fit in Oklahoma City. That would be the easiest fit. After Oklahoma City, it's the Knicks. It's 100% the Knicks. Now, they've got a lot of money on the books. That would be a weird trade. And I don't, unless Giannis pushed and wanted to be in New York and they found a way to make it work, then okay. But the point of what I wanted to get at is Giannis would destroy the chemistry, destroy it in Indiana. That chemistry is super special, and it's also super delicate. You would have to give up too many pieces. That is actually where I think addition by subtraction is a terrible play. And before, when Sham said he was talking about Indiana at the front end there, he said that a lot of players are like, get me to Indiana. That's where I want to play. Teams will have a change of scenery will help Zion. Look, if I had to go out of that group, I know some of you asked, I'm going Ja Morant. I'm going Ja out of that entire group because I think it fits the best. He's great at the pick and roll. He can create space. He's not afraid still to get into the lane. He probably had the dunk of the year, even though it didn't count over Wemby. I would probably lean towards Ja Morant. He'll get serious for a few months, lean out, and then he goes back. I thought Zion physically throughout the season, he still looked his best. He maintained what he came into with the season. Now, doesn't mean his conditioning is where it's at, but I thought off the court, we were talking about Anthony Edwards having allegedly, I'm going off of the chat, 4 babies with 4 different mothers. That's what somebody in the chat said. That's not what I said. I brought up Antonio Cromartie. Zion has got some lady issues. They are well documented. There was just one I want to say about 6 weeks ago, where somebody came and broke in to Zion's house. And by the way, they walked through the front door. For Zion Williamson, there's no way your front door is unlocked. And if it is, you've got a massive gate around your house that is locked. They had access. Come on. And assaulted another woman that was in there. So that's the kind of stuff that I worry about. I actually worry about that a little bit more than I do with Zion on the court. But Ja Morant would be my pick. Yes, that was a very good call indeed. Who would miss the most games? Zion or Levine? It's a good question. Because we don't know what New Orleans was doing with him. Remember, Zion fought back against them this season at times because he wanted to play. Sacramento will make Zion fat and slow. No way, dude. Compared to New Orleans, there is no way Sacktown will make him fat and slow. There is much worse cuisine in New Orleans in terms of for your body, like health-wise. The cuisine there is way worse than it is in Sacktown. We are still part of Cali. No, we're not SoCal. What's up, bro? The quick this. putting the in front of any freeway. Did you get a grip of waves this morning? We're not that part of California. We're not juicing and wasting like 4 whole things of fruit. But we're still pretty healthy, comparatively speaking, to New Orleans. Beignets, jambalaya, fried catfish. No, you got that in Sacktown. I think he would have much more healthy appetites. Doubling down, Zion would eat so much Gym Boys. No, he would not. There's no, well, maybe he would. I don't know. I look, you know my take on Gym Boys. I loved it. I remembered it being so good until the last time I had it. That's it. You know what, Gym Boys, to be fair, because you might want to sponsor this show at some point. Maybe I just remembered it wrong. Maybe my habits had changed, but I remembered it different in what it was. You would be fat if you ate that. Rome was talking about ants for kids in 1 year all day. All right, well, there you go. Giannis to the Lakers. How do you pull that? I know JJ Redick would like that. I don't think the Lakers have the capital to do that. Farm to fork capital. Okay, let me ask you a question. I'm going to go a different way. Zion would love Bennett. Yes, he would. Zion, tell you what, man. And actually, Zion, you could literally go on a diet, dining at Bennett's, my man. You could. Whether it's the red fish, which is blackened with spinach and a grilled lemon, whether it's the steak Cobb salad, yes, it counts. Steak Cobb salad, which is incredible. Homemade soups. Zion, what about a nice prime cut of a New York prime steak, my man? Not that much fat in that. They've got it all. Zion, you want something lighter? Not a problem. In fact, you want a good brunch, Zion, that's not fried? By the way, what's up with New Orleans? And I like Creole food, but why are we deep frying sandwiches? What's that sandwich? The Monte Cristo? You're not going to find that on Bennett's menu, Zion. You're going to find some great, healthy breakfast options as well as some of the classics. And Zion, if it's your cheat day, have a cocktail. You can get a bottle of champagne and 2 breakfast entrees for under $60. All 3 locations: Roseville, Rockland, Howe and Fair Oaks. 11 to 2 on the weekends. And if Sunday is your cheat day, Zion, that's when you splurge for the prime rib, my man. Prime rib at night. All 3 locations. Probably shouldn't hit happy hour every day from 2 to 6. That would not be good for the diet, Zion. But there is more than enough at Bennett's prime cuts of seafood and steak. Check them out in all seriousness. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com to make reservations. You can buy gift cards. You can order to go now on the website as well. So go check them out. Big thanks to them for sponsoring today's edition of the King's Court. And thanks to them for sponsoring the channel. Grant and I very much like it. I know BG is going to be there tonight. Let us know when you all go there, and we will get you all hooked up. We'll retweet you and then give us feedback, and we'll pass that along to Brian as well. That's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm kind of thinking that's where he's going to end up. And that's why I've been saying that the Spurs, they are not pot committed whatsoever to De'Aaron Fox. McLean, Zion would be great, but he doesn't play enough minutes. For whatever reason, he's not a franchise player. New Orleans had beaten the Kings at the game I went to. If Zion played franchise player minutes, yeah, they did pull him out. I remember what you're talking about, McLean. Where Zion would fit in is the physicality. The physicality fits with the way that Kings want to play. But I also do think offensively, I don't know so much about defensively with Ja Morant, but offensively, the physicality fits with Ja in the way the Kings want to play, according to Doug Christie. Here's the question that I was going to ask you, because you guys brought up Giannis to LA. I mean this. Serious question. Because the Kings either had or could have had both of these guys. If you were starting your franchise today, would you rather start it with Tyrese Halliburton or Luka Doncic? Let me repeat that. Would you rather start your franchise today with what you know about both players with Luka or Hallie? Let me know in the chat. I think that's going to be an interesting question. I've also got some thoughts on Malik Monk that I want to get to. MC, what's up, man? Good to see you. Hope you're having a good spring. Yeah, Al, I don't know how that... Well, never mind. I don't need to send the chat in that direction. I don't need an explanation from anybody in the chat on how that can happen all in 1 year. Man, that's a lot of diapers. That's a lot. You know, the nannies that he's probably hired. Hell yeah! They ain't got no problem with that. They're working. They've got their hands filled. They're getting overtime. Hey, Adam. Adam, how do you feel about one of your players having 4 babies in 1 year?
I want to let it marinate a bit.
You want to let it marinate a bit. Adam, how does one of your players have 4 babies in 1 year?
Of the physical, grinding.
Oh, interesting. So there's your explanation, the grinding. Got it. Redfish. Ant putting in the work. Okay, it all makes sense now. Thank you for enlightening me on that. I was wondering why he was always away from everybody. When he had private time, I would be away from everybody too. I would be in a dark room like him. I probably wouldn't be gaming. I'd be trying to sleep, but I get why that guy is staying away. Oh my gosh. Tyrese Halliburton wins the finals MVP. Don't try to stop me, Rhino. I will be at the Golden Gate Bridge. Rock. Are you trying to force me? Why would you be at the Golden Gate Bridge? Seriously. It's 2 different situations, man. Yeah, Sacramento probably would have been a little bit different, but you can't say Sacramento would have been Indy. Indy's got something special going. Indy has that delicate balance where maybe, yes, Hallie becomes a superstar. Maybe he already has in this postseason became a superstar. He's elevated to that level now. But look at Indy's body of work. And by the way, if you were watching Hallie this season, he struggled. He struggled a lot. He had some confidence issues that the GM talked about that were well documented, that he worked through. But there is not the star. There is not one element to Indy that would be sexy on their own besides Tyrese Halliburton to get a massive haul for, to trade for. They are the perfect group of guys together. It is so rare that that happens and they come together. And when it does, you see chemistry like that. So I would say take a step back, enjoy greatness, because it is truly, and Jerry Reynolds confirmed this, it's reminiscent of what the Kings used to do back in the day. I personally, I'm not going to be sour if he wins a championship. I'm happy for him. So, Rock, the Kings will get their chip. It might just not be during our lifetime. All right? Take a step back. You're lucky. You know, my previous job, Rock, I was a mandated reporter. I would have to pick up the phone and report you. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, I was a mandated reporter, but I know you're kidding too, Rock. Don't go there. Don't do it, Rock. So what you're saying is you would like a front court of Sabonis, Zion, and Keegan. Yeah, I don't know that it really works. I don't think it does. He works with the physicality, but Zion likes to play outside. That's the problem. Which means you're still packing the paint because of the lack of rim protection. Hallie, yeah, Al, agree. Let's move on. The only guy in the chat that doesn't want to move on is Haunted Horse. Yeah! He's like, yeah, I'll explain that to you guys. Been waiting for this moment my whole life. Hallie is a good locker room guy. Let's see, 4 kids. Yeah, Peter, I can't put that up. I can't put that up. Hey, Adam, there's a court trial going on about a famous musician that was referenced in the chat. What is that trial around?
Of the physical, grinding.
Yeah, there you go. So why was Hallie voted the most overrated player? Look, there were only 7 players that voted him most overrated. He happened to get the most votes, but it was only 7 players. It's not like 80% of the electorate chose Hallie. 7 players. 2 pairs of twins. Interesting. That's going to be... So 2 sets of... Okay. So 2 sets of twins with 2 different women is what we're saying. Wow. That would be a weird lifestyle. Think about it, because you're going to be... Okay, guys, the password. We're getting passwords now. Is there passwords to sound drops? 2085 Sacramento Kings champions. Yeah. Dude, you would be with the 1 set of twins and you better be fully rested, which you're not going to be, and you're going right to another set of twins. Holy moly. I do not like Halliburton. He's overrated. Like him as a player, ugly jump shot and all. Fair enough. All right. Well, just stay away from Bridges, Rock. All right, I do want to talk about Malik Monk. I put Monk on the title of the show. I'm going to bring up his stats from this last year. I've watched some more tape. Not twins. Okay. Can we get some accuracy? 4 kids, all different birthdays. Damn. Al's going Luka over Hallie. I'm going Hallie over Luka. He's just a winner. He's just a winner. By the way, probably Malik Monk's best moment this year on the mic.
Yeah, since he's been back, he lost a lot of pounds. He was fat at the beginning of the year. Put on lost some of them LBs, and he's moving around now. So yeah, that's it. That's just he just lost some pounds, and that's it.
That's Malik Monk talking about Trey Lyles when Trey started playing pretty well. Kevin Martin had an ugly three. Yeah, Kevin Martin did have a different looking three. That's for sure. That's an era that we forget about. The Kevin Martin era, man. That was that dead area after the Kings had their good run. It says, okay, this is the debate. I asked about if you were starting a franchise today, Hallie or Luka. Now we have a debate over whether it is 4 kids in 1 year with 4 birthdays or 4 kids with 2 birthdays. Malik Monk got off to a little bit of a difficult start this year. And Malik struggled with injuries for a second year in a row, something that was not a massive deal to me, but now I'm going to be paying attention to it. Here were his numbers. Here's numbers year over year. I'm not going to do a deep dive into them because I don't think there really is a reason to take a deep dive into them. I think Malik Monk was asked to wear many hats this year. I think Malik Monk expected, as many of us did, to get a point guard in return for any type of De'Aaron Fox trade. What's the one thing the team needs, Domas?
The biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
There you go. So I think he expected that, but the point guard responsibilities ended up on his plate for the most part after De'Aaron Fox was traded. And that's why the Kings struggled so heavily when Malik Monk got hurt. It was easier to fill the time that Sabonis was out with Valanciunas than it was to fill the time with Malik Monk out because you had to go point guard by committee. Now, coming into the season, big question was Malik going to start? Is he not going to start? So many people called the show over the summer and said, do you think that Malik has it in his contract? He re-signed here because he's going to start. No, he didn't have it in his contract. And by the way, in some cases, in most cases, I should say, starting does not matter. It matters who plays the most minutes, who's on the court at the end of the game. But in Sacramento's case, starting did matter because the Kings were not as talented as other teams. You can't get cute. And the reason that starting mattered for this team, besides the fact that you didn't have the true point guard, was the defense. The defense changed dramatically depending on who you started. As soon as you insert Keon Ellis into a starting lineup, Keon Ellis can now switch anytime with Keegan Murray. Anytime. That's something Malik Monk could not do. Now, Malik, for as many little things that might get on you, and as many times as he says, gee, damn, when he goes to the rim and the mic catches it up, his emotion, his balance to what he brings to that locker room is so important. It is everything. When things get too high, he'll let the team know. When things get too low, he'll bring things back to where they should be. If the guys are not happy with something, but don't want to speak up, more times than not, he will speak up. I'll point you back to training camp. Malik was keeping the coaching staff accountable. He was keeping them accountable. He was finding a way to get a copy of the practice plan, and if practice ran a minute over in any given segment, Malik would go up and call Mike Brown out. And so it turned into a little bit of a running joke and was fun for a little bit. But then after the second preseason game, things kind of got a little muddy. He was asked why the three-point shooting wasn't going so well, and Malik said, I think the guys are tired. I respect Malik for speaking up. I respect his honesty, but I got to side with Coach Brown on this one. You can't throw that out that early. into the season. You just can't. They only did double practices the first week of training camp. And if you've really been paying attention and you subscribe to some of the newsletters out there that some of the credentialed members of the media put out, you'll know there was a little bit of a tug and pull. I don't need any jokes about that. Keep those to yourself. Do not put them in the chat. There was a little bit of tug and a little bit of pull between ownership, the players, the front office, and Coach Brown about how much Coach Brown was practicing the guys. He practiced them a lot more the Beam Team year. Now, it didn't go over what the NBA and the Players Union have put out, but it was a little bit more than most other teams did. And then he backed off a little bit the next year. Kings weren't as good. And then this year, Mike dug his heels in a little bit here and there. But when Mike Brown got hit with the question from the media, because Malik had said it like literally maybe 5-10 minutes before Mike spoke to the media. So Mike had no clue about it. Mike got blindsided with it. And you could tell he was not happy about it. So there's the good and the bad with Malik. One thing that became 100% clear to me, and I've said it for 2 seasons now, Malik Monk makes Domantas Sabonis better, and Domantas Sabonis makes Malik Monk better, and in turn, they make the Sacramento Kings better when they're on the court together. When Malik Monk was put into the starting lineup, was not in favor of it unless they went away from the DHO and they went more towards a offense around pick and roll. And that's exactly what the Kings did. It's exactly what they did. And it was working really, really well. Then the Fox trade happens. And you don't get another point guard in return. Then things got a little sticky. Then Doug becomes the coach. Then Malik goes through some injuries. Then Malik comes back. Looking back at some of those films, once the Kings acquired Zach LaVine, it became very clear to me. And if I had the opportunity to ask Doug Christie this, I would have asked him. Malik was pulled after coming back from an illness from the starting lineup in favor of Keon Ellis, who had been starting while he was out. Normally, guys do not lose their jobs to illnesses or injuries. So the assumption was Malik was going to get it back next game. Never came back. And here's why. This is what I would ask Doug. Malik Monk and Zach LaVine, they were covering too much ground while they were both on the court. It was really screwing up the pacing because both of them would improv so much. If I had one criticism of Malik Monk towards the middle of the season on the pick and roll game, maybe you'll understand or recognize what I'm saying. There's many ways of playing the pick and roll offensively. There's something called the snake dribble, where you come off the pick and then you snake back towards where the pick was at. That became Malik Monk's go-to. He tried to get a little too cute with the pick and roll too regularly because he wanted to pick up the foul. Mike Bibby used to do it all the time. It's really one of those plays that you want to do kind of like slipping a screen. You want to do it maybe once a game, maybe twice a game. But with Malik, he, in going back to the bench, totally cool with it, rolled with it. And that's why I'm here to tell you today, Malik Monk should be this team's sixth man to start next year. Malik Monk should not be in the starting lineup. Has nothing to do with his play, has nothing to do with, being demoted. The sixth man role is exactly what he needs to be for Sacktown for a couple of different reasons. If you're going to do a defensive approach, you need as many guys on that floor that can switch together. That is Keon Ellis right now at the 2. Keon needs to become a little bit of a better playmaker. Well, I guess that's not Keon Ellis. Excuse me. Well, okay. As of today, it is Keon Ellis because we don't have a point guard. That will change when the Kings, hopefully.
The biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
But Malik and Zach LaVine's minutes need to be staggered. I don't think you can play them together for long periods of time. I'm really hoping he can stay a little bit more healthy. I think a lot of these guys, as funny as it sounds, they were complete fish out of water at times. So they're asked to play point guard. They were asked to do this. They were asked to do that. And it just threw the games off. Malik adjusted. I think he will adjust fine going back to the bench, assuming 2 things. The Kings get a point guard, a starting point guard, and assuming that he's still here in Sacramento. It's not out of the realm that the Kings might try to move him. I do not think they will, but if I had to give Malik a grade for last year, I'm giving him a solid B. I am. I know he struggled shooting the 3 ball, but everybody else did. If you didn't tune into yesterday's show, I kind of said it. I was very blunt about it. I'll be blunt about it again. I'm not going to point at multiple guys for shooting the 3 ball bad when all 3 or 4 of them have been good 3-point shooters. Then all of a sudden it stops. To me, that tells me it's a system thing. It needs to be looked at. So Malik, to me, should be coming off the bench next year. Agree, disagree, let me know. McLean, the man of the day, by the way. Heck of a call. Beam had so much effort and had competitiveness in them. They had multiple games where they scrapped with the other team. Malik saying, we aren't taking any bleep. Yep. That attitude disappeared? I don't think it did. I do not think it did. Paul, I'll be joining Jesus at the Golden Gate Bridge. Okay, you know what? You know what, guys? I don't want to be in a group text with you. Just somehow get a hold of me because I might come to that meeting. If they get another middle of the road between point guard and 2 guard, what is the most frustrating thing the team could do? For me, that is right up there. That's right up there. Malik is a point guard until further notice. He is, Peter. That's right. You are absolutely right. Monk off the bench. Yep, I agree. He shines there more. He gets more looks too. You're wasting baskets. You're wasting attempts. How do you put it? Like, I don't know. Like if you drive an electric car and you've got every single accessory going when you don't need to have every accessory going, you're wasting your battery for no reason. That's how the Kings were with shot attempts sometimes. There were too many shot attempts on the floor. So you look at, like, why did they only shoot 80 shots that game? Why did they only shoot 66 shots? Well, 1, the pace was slower, but 2, when you have Zach LaVine, Malik Monk, throw some other names out there because we saw almost every combination, but especially those 2 together on the floor, you're wasting shot attempts. You just are. You can't get everybody enough shots. That's why Keon worked so well. There's no need to get Keon shots. None whatsoever. But if he's open, throw him the ball. He was probably, percentage-wise, I think he was the 2nd best 3-point shooter on the team. Let's see. Seemed like they got mentally fragile. The acceptance of being called out and not having effort. Well, McLean, it depends on who you're talking about. I think De'Aaron Fox was mentally fragile. I could give you 5 examples right here. I'll give you 3 off the top of my head. Not talking to the media, not this last season, but the season before, for 16 days because there was a miscommunication after a bad game and Kessler Edwards got sent up. That 16 days where your play dropped, your numbers dropped significantly, that's mentally fragile. Going up to the podium after making the only play that Mike Brown said we cannot do, and then going out and doing it against Detroit and giving up a 4-point play and then going to the podium, saying the answer doesn't matter. Yeah, that's mentally fragile. I think I can't say Sabonis was mentally fragile. I cannot say Keon Ellis was mentally fragile. I think actually I could make a bigger argument that the team as a whole was the complete opposite. How many times did Mike Brown go away from players and then come back to them and they would still be ready to roll and contribute? That's mental strength. I remember talking to Kessler Edwards about that 2 years ago. He had just come back from the road trip. It was a 6-game trip. They won in Minnesota. The next night, he was in Stockton, assigned and playing in Stockton. I'm like, what are you doing here? I'm like, how are you doing this? Because he played in the Minnesota game, and he played really well. And he's just like, it's all up here. It's mental. Stay ready. So I think the Kings were better with that. Tristan, I don't know what you're talking about.
Haunted double O horse. Jim, I also fathered an illegitimate child.
Now, horse, really quick. Okay. So you fathered...
Haunted double O horse. Jim, I also fathered an illegitimate child.
You left out the timeline, though, horse. Was that only one time? Was that once every 6 months? Was that once every 2 years? What's the timeline there, horse?
Haunted double O horse. Jim, I also fathered an illegitimate child.
Just asking. A good, yeah. I can't put that up, my man. Of course, that's what you guys are going to. I knew you would. I knew you would. Tug and pull getting a ton of run in the chat. If you want to read it, go read it yourself. I am not reading it on this show. Monk off the bench, my vote, especially with the bench so thin. Yeah. Don't think Fox was happy here for the last year and a half. I recapped it yesterday. Go back and watch yesterday's show. Look, it's really one of the more difficult things for me to, and we're going to wrap up here because the Knicks and the Pacers are coming up. I'm going against my gut. I'm going against my gut with this one. Tonight, I say we're going to be hearing this.
New York!
And they're going back to Indiana.
Bing bong! Tell me less so, KD. Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks?
They're going back to Indiana. I think you're going to get a game 6. So which way y'all going on that? Did Patrick give his prediction other than trying to fall asleep and getting home from the train? Yeah, that's a shirt. Yeah, okay. Your chat, I got to take, you guys are on the screen right now. Now that's the problem. That's on me that garbage made it through. That is on me. I'll close with this. The De'Aaron Fox thing, it's tough for me because I agree. I don't think he quit by quote unquote quitting standards for a year and a half, but I do think he made a choice about his game that did affect how the team played. I do think he quit against Detroit. 100%. That was a quitting play. He quit on his team, and then to double down and go up to the podium that night and give those answers, it doesn't matter. That's a quitting play. Conversely, he could have slow played this thing with the Kings, and you could have been in a much worse position than you are today. He did the podcast saying that the team it's now on the team. He wants to compete for championships. They've got to bring in the pieces. He could have done that behind the scenes while full knowing he had no intention of ever staying in Sacktown. And the team could have started moving Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, Malik Monk. And then De'Aaron decides not to sign an extension this summer. So he didn't do that either. So that's where I'm very torn on De'Aaron Fox and his legacy here in Sacktown. All right, make sure you join Grant tonight. I am so disappointed in myself that your guys' chats were on the screen during that time. I'm thinking I'm keeping them away from the show. I'm giving you what you want. You got the Haunted Horse sound drop. You got the New York Knicks.
New York Knicks run New York City! Bing bong! Tell me a little something, KD. Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks?
Those chats make it on the screen. My goodness. But no, I am going with, and I said last night, I thought that the Thunder would win in a blowout. They did. I think this one's going back to Indiana. I do. I think you are headed back to Indiana for a game number 6. I think the pressure goes back on to the Pacers. Either way, it's going to be a festive atmosphere in New York. As for the injury report, let's tell you right now what's updated. Karl Anthony Towns is available. He is available. So he will be playing tonight. Question now becomes, will he be limited? We'll see. Patrick, Knicks fans, you got to physical up Tyrese Halliburton. This has got to be a race to 100. Just like game number 3, 106-100. Knicks won. Got to be that type of game. You guys start getting into the 130s to 121s, the 138s to 135s. Series is over. So looking forward to it. Join Grant 8 o'clock tonight. Thank you guys all. Have a great rest of the evening. We wrap up the week tomorrow with the Friday edition, Royal Rumble Friday, the King's Court. We'll be doing our wrestling segment with Adam as well. Y'all can come in and talk about whatever you want to talk about tomorrow, and we'll have plenty of basketball to cover as well. Fridays are always fun, but until then, have a great rest of the night. Stay safe. Go Kings like the bean. Court is dismissed. And tell them what we need, Domas.
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard, that's for sure.
New York Knicks run New York City! Bing bong! Tell me a little something, KD. Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks?